We mentioned a couple of chapters of your book. How did you outline the chapters like that? Like how to talk to your banker, for instance? What are the key lessons of those chapters?
The outlining of the book basically starts from my inception of the business, which is now going on its 17th year, and takes it all the way through to 2015. So the first 15 years of growing the business. And pretty much the way it outlines is how I decided to do it, what was the thought process, what happened in the early stages. And so I go through, not necessarily year by year, but eventful year by year in that 15-year span. And each chapter talks not only about what the business is going through, but what I was going through outside of the business, so the life around it. And some of the chapters are more intense about the mistakes I made in business, the wrong business partners, the wrong promotions I gave, the wrong investments, I took my eye off the cash flow ball. And then some chapters are a little bit more heavy on why the business was suffering, but because something was going on in my life, whether that had to do with children, my own physical health. And so each chapter kind of goes through that, and at the end of each chapter, I pull out a lesson. And the lesson is what I learned in retrospect because of those events. And so I do a chapter on literally Excel spreadsheets and why, if you don't know how to use Excel, then stop, get out of business. You have a problem. And I talk about the clarity and the emotionlessness of a spreadsheet. And so when you're trying to solve problems, for example, you have to strip your emotions out of it. And when you have to put it in a spreadsheet, the spreadsheet doesn't lie. You can put whatever, if you're truthful, in there. But what it does is it creates a voice for your company and for your problem. And so, for example, when you want to go to your bank and have a discussion about capital funding or line extensions, they don't really want to hear your words. They want to see your vision. And I think the challenging thing, not just for entrepreneurs, but for businesses, our vision is clear in our head, but it doesn't always translate out into the world. And so if you can learn how to put your ideas in a spreadsheet, literally, and show people, they are so much more open to talking because the vocabulary now matches. And I learned that the hard way. We had a very quick rise in our company. We went very quickly to 17 million. And then one day I realized that we were incredibly broke. And that had to do with all these other mistakes I'd made in the business. Really, really incredibly broke. Had a successful business, but broke. And I kept going to the bank and saying, you have to help us here. And he's like, no, that spreadsheet says you have no money. We're not talking to you. And I had to learn to tell my story of rebirth in a spreadsheet. And so there was a period in which every 3 months I was going into my banker and I said, look, I just need you to give me 3 more months. And look, I did what I said I would do in this spreadsheet. And I would check in every 3 months with the spreadsheet. And the bank granted me a lot of favors to get through a really tiring time and stressful time because I was able to put the vision on the paper and then prove that it was happening. So that's like one thing I really talk about. Other lessons, I talk about compartmentalizing, how you, in both your personal life and in business, how you have to learn. People say, oh, you're the ice queen. No, I've just put this in a compartment, this in a compartment, and it helps you make decisions. I talk a lot about your physicality. And some people call it marketing, but especially for women, I spend a lot of time in the book where my physicality, whether it was the way I dressed, looked, presented myself, held myself, in many cases held me back, both professionally, mentally, and even spiritually in a way that was horrible and blocking. And so I talk a lot about just having the freedom to understand that your physical body is as much a part of your marketing tool and your brain power as anything else.